So welcome to Albany County Direct. I'm your host, Albany County Executive Daniel McCoy. On today's episode, we're joined by Susan Cotner, Executive Director of Affordable Housing Partnership of the Capital Region Incorporated. I appreciate you being here today, and we're going to discuss about first-time homebuyers, which we partnered with the Albany County Legislature, and I want to thank Chairwoman Joanne Cunningham, Deputy Chair Wanda Willingham, all the legislators that were involved, because it is a tough system to navigate, right? And I say that to some people, it's like when you go to college, your kid goes to college first time and you got to fill out all that financial aid, right? It's intimidating and it's scary for people. And then you got agents that sometimes aren't there for your best interest. You know, they're there to sell a house at a higher rate to make more money. So, this Homebuyers Navigator Program, which was recently approved by the county legislature, and, to start off, what do you think? What advice could you give out there to somebody who's buying a house and how this program is going to work for them?
Right. Great. Again, thanks for the opportunity. So there's a lot of things that people need to know before they get into the home buying process, and we encourage them to do that research early on, when they're just starting to think about buying a home. What we're finding with the buyers that we work with is that, they never have enough cash. And so saving money, coming up with a strategy to save is a critical, key to successful home ownership. And then obviously credit. We want to make sure that everybody has as high a credit score as they possibly can have, because that's going to help them get a better loan product, lower fees, lower cost to close, more affordable payments. So those have been the main obstacles that individuals are facing. But then they've got the market, right? And the market is a little tough right now. So
it sure is.
We're finding that the average price of a home that people are buying that we work with is about $225,000, and they need to come to closing. Even if they get down payment assistance funds and grants, they still need to come up with $9,000 to $10,000 of their own savings,
which can be really tricky for people because rent is extraordinarily high. I know this. Unfortunately, my daughter, who was married almost 4 years ago, but got divorced and moved back in with my grandchild, which is great. Sold their house, and just looking at rent in general, it's been crazy. I knew rent was high, but it has really opened up my eyes going out into the community. Obviously with my daughter and granddaughter looking at apartments across, and then trying, obviously she wanted to buy another house, but just because the interest rates are high or having enough money down. And the ironic thing is the rent's higher than what her mortgage was.
Exactly. And what we found was so interesting during the pandemic is that people with mortgages had better outcomes because they could talk to their lender, work out a payment plan, and that type of thing. Folks with rent were just stuck and needed to really come up with their rent payment. They didn't have an opportunity to negotiate a reduced rate or anything. So we find that home ownership really had helped a lot of folks when times were tough. And so really that's our goal, is to help promote more wealth building opportunities instead of helping your landlord, invest in rental property, really help more first-time home buyers.
Now, and I don't know if you follow the interest rate, because I think that's going to be set soon, and I'm keep hearing it might go down a little bit from I think right now it's between 6.5% and 7%. Right. Might go to 6.5%, maybe 6% again. Still not where we were a couple of years ago at 3% and lower in some cases. We launched this exciting new partnership, the First-Time Homebuyers Navigator Program. For people who are hearing about this or just listening to this, what's the difference with this from your current services that you offer right now?
Right. Oh, again, we're very grateful for that opportunity to really build our capacity to help more first-time buyers look at existing housing stock. That's where the real affordable housing is, right? When you're looking at new construction, that's all, oftentimes beyond the capacity of a new buyer to be able to purchase. So they're looking at existing housing stock. And that housing stock, we're an old city. It needs some love. So our goal with this Navigator program is really to help more families feel less worried and afraid about taking on an existing home and helping them evaluate what are the opportunities in terms of acquisition rehabilitation loan products, making sure that they've got the reserves after they buy so that they know if they go in and find a problem, they've got some cash on hand, or they know of other home repair programs that they could access to address that issue.
So do you navigate that for them? Like, say, in the city of Albany, community development, they have a lead program, they have first-time home buyers, they have different programs. Some banks I know that offer that, or looking to offer that for first-time home buyers to help them. PMI, PMI, right. I think it is, can get very tricky if you don't put enough money down.
Exactly.
Then you waste an extra $90, which makes no sense to me. You waste an extra $90 or $100 on a payment that does not invest in your house. It's only going strictly to the bank because they gave you a loan, which is kind of nuts. And you answer some of these questions, but who is this program for, and what kind of outcomes are you hoping to see from this? And you did answer some of it. So, and how will you measure the success of this program, and what does that success look like a year or two down the road?
Right.
I know it's a variety, but you answer some of them so you can skip around.
No, we're excited to help more first-time buyers, like I said, buy existing houses and feel comfortable that they're going to be able to afford it and maintain it and that type of thing. So part of our metrics will be looking at just the number of people who do access kind of home acquisition and repair loan products so that they can upgrade their property. The other thing that we'll look at is, again, even if folks aren't quite ready to buy, we'll be doing a lot more hand-holding along the way. And that's been something that we haven't had the capacity to do, that this Navigator funding will allow us to do better follow-up so we can keep encouraging folks. It does get very discouraging sometimes when you're looking at a market and not finding anything at all. That makes sense.
It is tough because, even with apartments, right? It's limited stock.
Yeah.
I was talking to some owners of complexes, and they were actually informing me that rent's going to go up even more. And I'm like, how do you even know that, right? So I'm curious. And they're just like the demand, the inventory. And I'm like, wow, it's like a racket. And how do you get away from, how do you overcome that? When, the debate nationally, not to get into this, has been eggs and food and heating and this versus that. And you look at a family just struggling sometimes to put food on their table, or decide to pay the rent, or they put the heat on. Do they go buy some new shoes or don't? It's tough everyday life decisions, unfortunately, people are making. And to the people that are listening is, oh, well, they put them, listen, just be blessed you're not in that situation, right? And to have a program, and when we talked about this in my office, to help navigate, to hold their hands, to walk them through it at their best interest, or just to come to your organization and sit down, like you said, to say, hey, you're paying X in your bills, and this you need to put Y away to save, and this is how long at that point in time, without touching it, you'll have enough money to buy something, and hopefully interest rate gets lower. And some of the things I've seen, unfortunately, the further you go out of the city, and sometimes up north more, the rent's cheaper. The housing market is, for whatever reasons, a little bit cheaper than here. But then the interest rate is still hurting people. But I think that if we get anything out of this, for me, is for the listeners to go to you and say, like, people just think, well, I'm paying 7% interest. And that's why, I shared that personal story about my daughter, because I want people to know it may still be cheaper for you to buy your own house versus paying rent, right? You think, not unless you don't want to mow the lawn. Some people want to do that. This new generation of kids, they just want everything. They want a rec room, a pool, a gym. They want everything there in their building. They don't worry about mowing. They don't worry about shoveling snow. They want their car heated. And quite honestly, if something toilet leaks, they want to be called the maintenance number and have them come up and take care of it. And that's okay too if you want to pay that price, right? So saying all that, before we wrap up, what would you say to somebody listening to this right now about what I said, or laying out in that degree of what they can get out of this partnership we have with you guys?
Yeah, no, great. Again, the information that you're going to get from meeting one-on-one with a housing advisor, learning about the products and programs. I mean, we do take a lot of time to make sure that everybody knows of the resources that are out there to help with down payment assistance. We also help promote energy efficiency programs so that once they do move in,
Excellent
they
point.
reduce that
Very
utility
excellent point on
bill.
that. Yep.
You know, again, if you're buying an existing older home, it's going to be pretty leaky probably. And so there are some great programs to help bring that cost of utilities down. And then
you bring up a good point in that we didn't know this. So veterans, disabled veterans, get a discount on their NIMO bills. They just, you got to call up and jump through a couple hoops. And whether it saves you $20 or $60 a month, that's an extra $20, $60 in your pocket.
Yeah, it makes a big difference. And that's some of the National Grid has a lot of great programs that we want to make sure people are aware of. And so that's part of the package. And again, the more we can let people know that there is help after they buy, we're hoping they'll feel more confident about buying existing properties. One of the cool things we've been finding with some of the folks is that we're finding more and more people buying houses that are currently owned by out-of-town investors. And we love that, that's not only helping that family gain wealth through home ownership, but it's also, kind of bringing back the neighborhoods into local community ownership.
Absolutely. I always say that I'm a young, I was going to say young gentleman, so young, a guy that grew up in the city of Albany, stayed in the city of Albany. And, I always say, like, we go into neighborhoods and you have, not to get off topic, and people say, oh, this neighborhood's going to this. And I go, what about the person that's lived there for 30, 40 years?
Exactly.
Can we talk that? Why? You could move anywhere you want in this world. And I always say to people, if you're so unhappy, move someplace else. Or talk about the good stuff. And I said, can we write on the board the good stuff that goes on in neighborhoods and why you're there? Because of the people. Could be the corner store. It could be your neighbor. And not to get off topic, but would you like to add anything before we wrap this up that you think that we have left out?
No, I think that's it. I mean, again, we're all about helping families build wealth. Home ownership still is a chief way that Americans build wealth in this country, and we want to support that. When you buy and get people ready to buy, but then after you buy with access to grant programs for home repairs and actually advice too if life happens, and they need some help understanding how to navigate a payment arrangement with their lender. So again.
And you're right. You might have someone buying a house that they'll be the first one in their family and to buy a home, and their family can't walk them through it because they've never gone down that road. Not that they don't know, but when you don't go down that road, you're not thinking about it and learning how to do that, right? So this is a great opportunity for our listeners at home. If you're interested in learning more about the First-Time Homebuyers Navigator Program, visit the link in our episode, which is in the description. I do want to thank Susan for being here. Thank you for this partnership. Thank you for all the information you put out there. I know there's more out there. But again, sometimes it helps when you have somebody that's there on your interest that wants to make sure that they're walking you through this. And like she said, we didn't even think about the home energy stuff and the different programs that you might be entitled to that you had no idea. So also be sure to check out our other episodes on Spotify or on Apple Music and subscribe so you never miss any update. And thank you for listening to Albany County Direct. I'm Albany County Executive Dan McCoy.